All right, cool. Give this a second for things to get started. Okay, let's see here. Whoop, 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 whoop. Give everybody a chance to get in here. Let them know that we will get started with this shit soon. Let's see here. Oh, it's so cringy to type out now. All right, what up, Courtney? Getting everything ready for the part two, the response by Wes Most. Bum bum bum. Sorry, I was 3 minutes late getting started. I put it out to some people. I was going on at 5, but I had to get a snack. What up, Minnie? How you doing? You ready for if you did you get caught up on yesterday's shit show? Today it's gonna be much shorter. We're not gonna do some fucking 3 hour mess. We are going to do West Most response to all this Muse bullshit, and it's gonna be entertaining. It's not gonna be as much of a drag as the other day. I'm trying to use this shit. Smoke less cigarettes. Try to vape a little bit. I'm gonna wait till we get like 5 or 6 in here, or wait just a few more minutes. Let people get in here, and then we'll start it up. At least his shit isn't as grueling. He makes good points, and he's entertaining to watch. What up? Oh God, vaping I just can't do it. It's so hard. I know I got it out for the meme. But I just didn't cut it. Have to have one of these. Oh, wait, before this one, we're gonna finish this guy. There we go. There, right. Yeah, this won't be as grueling as yesterday. Yeah, that's what I tell people. Like, why you vape? Real men just smoke cigarettes and die of cancer like we're supposed to. We stop being able to breathe in about 20 more years. I'd say at about 50, and then everything just goes to shit. I'm gonna be one of those 70-year-old men smoking fucking Marlboro Lights. That's just what I'm gonna be. Well, I don't know. I'll probably still smoke Newport. I think I'd just have to smoke Newport. But all right, we got 5 in here. We've been sitting here a minute. Let's get this fucking show on the road. About lucky if I get through 30s the way generation that how like everybody's starting off in their and like I've been killing cigarettes, red meat. It's not good for my heart. Caffeine. But let's get to part 1. The YouTube of human burger. We're looking fucking fantastic. I've been watching urban videos all for that shit. Get it going.
Hello, everyone.
I'm AI.
This is a YouTuber who goes by the name of... Actually, I will not be naming
I'm an
her for the
NPC.
entirety of this video. Like myself, she has a smaller channel, and chances are you may not have heard of her. If you have heard of her, it was most likely in connection to one of the many obstacles she has overcome in her own life. A deep dive of her YouTube channel will reveal that she has been homeless many times while dealing with the myriad of mental as well as health issues. She lives with dissociative identity disorder and another condition causing her to use a feeding tube.
Is that a mullet?
Solid foods could literally kill her.
Basically, if I would have kept on just eating, I could have died of a heart attack.
As if this weren't enough, she has had a variety of personal tragedies that any one of could make the average person snap. She was kidnapped and raised by a cult as a child, a victim of domestic violence, doxxed, shamed, and harassed repeatedly online.
God bless AC.
Accused of animal abuse in connection to her service dog, and shockingly, almost a victim of human trafficking back in 2016 when she fell under the spell of an unnamed man and woman in Seattle, Washington.
They said that it did sound like human trafficking.
These stories have been told.
Was it Onion Scion?
Often with the link added to a GoFundMe, Etsy, and or Patreon, and a request for donations to aid with a legal case, housing, various necessities, and living expenses. It's all too much for one person to have to deal with. So imagine my shock when I learned that in March 2020, she was almost a victim of human trafficking for a second time.
Escaping human trafficking, and today I'm meeting with the person to get my belongings back.
Well, actually, I can tell you exactly how shocked I was.
Was I roboting?
This time, I actually knew the person she was accusing.
Okay, and do you know
I'm a victim.
His name is? Yes, Wes.
On March 12th, 2020, I was almost arrested in front of a Walmart in Chehalis, Washington because
What up, Jade?
She was accusing me,
Wes Most,
of trafficking her. Buckle up because this one is wild.
Didn't she go out of her way to say that he looks nothing like the little animated character that he uses? Well, fucking no, duh. Like, if you look like that, I'm like, look, it's an anatomically perfect male.
I didn't just bring the salt because you know
your boy
has a big stack of receipts.
Your boy.
I've heard so many of your guys' stories, and it's inspired me to live more honestly.
The editing is the only thing that made her look human. When she had her fucking, I thought that it was editing that made her eyebrows some fucking weird color and all that shit. And it turns out he put an editing filter on her, and it's what made her look fucking normal.
Involved with the human trafficking, or you're a victim? I'm a victim.
What up, Retro?
I'm a victim.
I'm a victim.
I'm a victim.
Ah! Oh, this song, man.
Cause it's Wes Most and it's here for us. Salty and dangerous. Come on!
I let my accuser move into my home for a few reasons. She was in desperate need of help living in what she called a bad situation in Georgia. But more importantly, she needed emergency surgery to replace her feeding tube as it was dangerously overdue. I have heard claims that the move was because of a supposed doxing by YouTube or Realstream News, but I can confirm that this move had been planned and paid for prior to the supposed incident. Her insurance is in the Pacific Northwest, and I happen to live in the Pacific Northwest, so I offered to help.
He traveled me across the entire country, and then
I offered to pay for a plane ticket and help her find housing, but she was insistent that she had neither the time or funds to find a place to live before the feeding tube would be at a critical point. With 2 extra bedrooms in my house, I eventually agreed to let her use one of them temporarily while she got on her feet. Almost from the time she arrived, I identified personality traits that made me question everything she had told me before. I did not trust her and felt like I was being manipulated.
And it was really fucking manipulative.
It was probably the food that was the first sign to me that all was not as it should be. I had read about gastroparesis and the foods people affected with the condition are able to eat, and I made sure to stock up on them at home. None of these, however, matched her daily diet of candy, cookies, chips, chicken nuggets, chicken fries, pizza, spicy tacos, hamburgers, junk food. I saw in a video my accuser released just a day or two ago that I allegedly forced her to eat these foods.
With gastroparesis, they can't sit around and eat egg sandwiches. They can't sit around and eat tacos and salsa and just food. They can't eat chips and cookies all day.
But as these texts show, these are things she chose to eat. And in many cases...
Oof. Also, she be eating salads, grilled cheeses. Grilled cheeses make me fart. I don't mean to be gross, y'all, but I can't be good for somebody with gut issues. Let's see. Oh, grilled cheese. Should be farting up a storm a bit. Alright, read a hamburger. Fucking camming it up.
Outright asked for it. Why would I force anyone to eat anything? I was led to believe she was going to be on a feeding tube 24 hours per day.
Just wanted to read these. Beef spicy. They told her that shit is spicy. Alright, well, we'll get it.
Not raiding my kitchen like it was a set of a 90s commercial for Totino's pizza rolls.
That's why I always have Totino's pizza rolls.
Hell
I am
yeah.
not a doctor.
Well, thank you, Jay.
And I'm not pretending I know everything about gastroparesis. It just seemed odd to me that this person who on her own GoFundMe mentioned how difficult it is for her to eat solid food, ate so much of it at my house that I had to ask her to slow down and to set of written rules just weeks after she got here.
I like pizza. I like bagels. I like hot dogs with mustard and
To be 100% honest, the first 2 weeks living with my accuser were
Dude,
pretty miserable.
Got my head.
It's
I'm gonna
typical
eat
to
some
expect
pizza
little
rolls in a little
issues
bit
here and there while sharing space with someone.
with soy
But the
sauce.
pattern of things I dealt
It's
with
fire.
was starting to give me anxiety. I am not the most difficult person in the world to live with, but I do expect mindfulness, respect, and common courtesy. A week or so after moving in, my future accuser went out with a friend who lived locally. She messaged me on her way back to let me know her friend would also be joining her at my home. This upset me. I wasn't being asked if this stranger could come to my house. I was being told that this person was coming to my house.
Always.
I would never do that, and I don't know
Hi.
many people who would as a guest. It was this one message alone that when the police...
Yeah, dude. Fucking soy sauce on pizza rolls. If you haven't had it, look, bite the corner off, put 3 drops of soy sauce in that sumbitch, and eat it. And if the pizza rolls are just a little too hot, and your soy sauce has been properly kept in the fridge, those 3 drops bring the inside to the perfect temperature. And plus, that hit of, just trust me, it sounds funky, but it's fucking delicious.
saw it, they knew that my accuser was not being trafficked.
And so he's been holding you against your will? No.
Not only was she leaving on her own with complete freedom, but she wanted to bring people back to hang out at my house.
You'll try it
If
once
I
and you'll
was a
love it, I
trafficker,
guarantee it.
I was really bad at it and completely unclear on the concept.
I am here to kidnap you.
This was just one of many examples that I really don't want to get into in this video.
Qualities are you looking for in new roommates? So basically, she made it sound like he trafficked her across the fucking country and all this bullshit. And still, when he puts out a video about after the court case stuff, that'll be interesting. But you know, I'm not gonna go into that. All I know is it did not go well for him. Or not for him. It just didn't go well in general. I think the case got dropped. Not exactly sure on the specifics, but I'm just covering this so far since we sat through the grueling 2 hours of her shit yesterday. The catharsis is required.
But you can see here from the rules, I was fed up. There was no way I would be able to do this for 3 months. That same night, I started writing out a set of rules and expectations via Google Docs. Why Google Docs? I wanted to make sure the original edit date.
And that's his fucking list of like house rules. I mean, that's reasonable. Dude was more than reasonable with her. And he covered all his fucking bases.
It would be clear because in this document, I would include a new earlier move-out date of April 30th. This was 1 month.
There's a $500 thing. He's offering her, I can assist with $500. Otherwise, I'm setting a firm move out date before 30 with a $250 financial assistance. 430 would mean you had about 2.5 months of time to save and plan. I believe that's more than fair. State law requires 20 days, so, bro, he gave her plenty of time.
Sooner than previously discussed, but still much longer than the 20 days the state requires for a legal eviction. Had she stayed through April, she would have had 10 weeks of free room and board. Well, almost free. Because of the ridiculous amount of food she was going through, I let her know I would be charging her $75 monthly for expenses. Still a killer bargain, but worth pointing out.
Every time I come in the kitchen, you're in the kitchen eating up all the food.
On top of the earlier move-out date, I was initially offering $500 cash if my guest managed to move out by the end of March, and $250 cash if she stayed until the end of April.
I'm a victim.
I also wanted to spell out the situation
I'm a
very
victim.
clear on top of these rules so that the story cannot be changed later.
That was a grisly
Like
look
here
for
where I
her.
wrote, "This is the reason I was pretty adamant about finding you a place to live before you moved here."
Oh, wow, he's reading that shit out, dude.
But I know that was not possible, so we are where we are. The house rules were completed on March 2nd.
What up,
and given
Holly?
to my accuser on March 3rd. I will include a link to a copy with a few identifying names redacted, but otherwise they are identical to the original rules given to me.
Hey, look,
I did send
it's a
the
blocked
original
fuckface.
unedited version of
Yeet.
the text as well as the house rules to Drama and Opinions for verification. I felt like a petty asshole writing this stuff out, but I also felt like, what kind of asshole needs to be told not to leave stacks of dishes in the bedroom for days, or leave her
It's reasonable.
dog's urine-soaked towels sitting on the floor? Less than 12 hours after delivering these rules, an ex of mine who had been stalking me for several months was arrested and charged with cyber-stalking and harassment. It was a tense time at my home as the messages I
Damn.
had been receiving from my ex were getting more and more erratic and desperate. While in
10?
the middle of dealing with this back and forth and the phone calls with the police, my accuser wanted to talk about the rules that I'd given her.
Is that plugged
setting
into
a
anything?
move-out date because, in her words, she was in a panic. She didn't like that she was being asked to leave a month earlier than expected. I understood, but at the same time, I let her know my mental health and sanity were worth more to me than anything else. I felt like the 2.5 months of room and board and financial assistance being offered were more than fair, and I was not willing to budge on that move-out date.
Yeah, that's pretty fair,
She
dude.
seemed to accept this as the new reality. Later in the day, she thanked me for the $500 and said she would be out promptly. I reminded her I was in no way kicking her out and that she had until the end of April as I had written in the rules.
Christ, that light is
But she
bright.
seemed intent on getting the $500 incentive for being out by the end of March. Things changed the next day, and she
better.
tried having a confrontation with me on the night of March 4th, when she loudly told me I needed to be held accountable for my actions and asking her to leave earlier than expected, and I quickly shut her down. You aren't going to scream at me in my house. I did feel bad, though. I sent her this text message letting her know she could stay through April,
Meat and
and I would
cheese.
give her the $500 as I originally offered for March, and I would help her find her a suitable place to live. This was my effort to be more accountable and appease her concerns while sticking with the given move-out date. My message was ignored.
Was really fucking manipulative.
Supposed to go to Seattle to cover a court case on March 5th, but with the virus running rampant in the area, I was asked not to go. I let my accuser know I would not be going to Seattle because I no longer had a reason
Pete
to make a
Davidson.
7-hour round trip and offered to pay for her.
Real quick on a quick rant. That King of New York movie is just it's gonna be a massive influx of shitty fucking tattoo artists and people with shit tattoos like mine who are just gonna be covered in prison looking chicken scratch all over. Bet money on it.
Train ticket and drive her to the Amtrak station. She got her own ticket, sent a few passive-aggressive messages about how she shouldn't be on the train, and that was that. The next day, I drove her to the train station and dropped her off. This was Thursday.
Last quick rant. Pete Davidson was so fucking barred out when he did that moving show with Kevin Hart, and he was so fucking just, I guess, trashed on pills or hung over that he about passed out and died on that shit. That man needs to get his shit together. Not healthy.
March 5th, and she was originally planning to come back by March 6th or March 7th. I was happy to get 1 or 2 days of normalcy back in my home, and she seemed excited for her trip, even live streaming from the train about traveling for emergency surgery.
We still really need help on the GoFundMe.
The goats are
because
wonderful.
We are still planning on leaving at the end of this month and don't really have
Here it
plans
is.
of where we're going.
This is where things get
I'm
crazy.
gonna put a video
There was
out of the
still
goats
cordial
saying,
conversation going back and forth between the two of us after her planned departure. She let me know when she arrived in Seattle and kept me updated on her surgery. She claimed she would not be returning on the night of March 6th because of the anesthesia she was under, and that made perfect sense to me. The next morning on Saturday, March 7th, I got a message from my now former house guest telling me she was making the decision to stay in Seattle. She told me she would come back for her things and then let me know there were complications with her surgery and that her and her dog would be sleeping in a tent. A claim which would later turn out to be untrue, but did not make a lot of sense
That is
to me
crazy.
considering she was leaving a safe house for the streets of Seattle voluntarily. I wanted her to be able to get her things and offered to drive them up to her, a 7-hour round trip later in the week. She countered by offering to meet me halfway just a few days later. Someone forwarded
Millennials.
this video to me on Twitter on March 10th, where my accuser was now discussing being homeless with a broken feeding tube, asking for money via GoFundMe and Patreon. This felt manipulative to me,
Fucking manipulative.
considering she was choosing the living situation she was claiming to be in, but that is not my place to interfere. The linked GoFundMe offered information about complications from the surgery.
They did a CT scan and blood work and assured me that this one had not yet flowed into my stomach, but were unsure if I should use it or just to try to eat solid foods, which went so well before the feeding tube placement.
What did she mean from that last line? Eating solid foods was no problem for her prior to the surgery as long as she was here. She ate all the time and she chose the food she ate.
I'll eat eggplant. I could even eat a baby deer. La 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 la.
Feeding tubes were normally only reserved for going places in public.
I don't have feeding tube formula. I'm going to try and call up my insurance.
Okay, so yes, she was out of formula, but we already had a plan to meet 2 days after
some
this video
fucking
was posted,
formula.
so I could bring her several cases of it sitting in my garage. Again, it felt manipulative.
I'm a victim.
And really
I'm a victim.
manipulative.
But I said nothing because I didn't want to feed into things. I thought this line was a little
Where
weird.
I was and have pretty much no ability to go get my things because of jurisdiction, and also not a lot of people that I know drive.
But in
And
my experience, she liked to fabricate things and make them seem more drastic and dramatic than they were. So I let this go with something else being said in an effort to crank up the emotion and drive in those donations. Seems to have worked too because those donations are at almost $250 as of March 25th.
Damn.
I was not going to pay a dime of that move-out money I was gifting until the drop-off had been completed, and I made plans to meet about 100 miles from my home at a Walmart in Chehalis, Washington.
That's the hush
I
money.
specifically chose this public location because I wanted to make sure there were plenty of witnesses should she try and make some wild claim later. Like I said, I didn't trust her. She messaged me on the morning of the 12th and offered this little gem.
I hope that me leaving early has been good for your mental health.
I didn't want small talk. I wanted to know
It
what
has,
all she
probably.
needed from my house so I could distinguish it from the literal boxes of trash and food wrappers she left in the bedroom. She ran down the list and said,
Feel free to use trash bags. That won't bug me in the slightest.
followed by,
If you need my Cash App again too, let me know.
Don't forget the
I
Cash
realized
App.
pretty quickly that her feigning concern for my mental state was just a request for the move-out money I had offered, so I ignored the other messages.
I do hope things get easier. I'm happy that I have a chance to retrieve belongings in a ride so that you don't have to drive all the way. Or the option people said was to ask for law enforcement to do it, but jurisdictions are an issue. So I couldn't figure it out for a second there.
I again chose to ignore that last line because it seemed like an invitation to fight or converse further, and I wasn't interested in either of those. I don't know why anyone would have advised her to ask for law enforcement unless she had lied to them, and I really didn't care.
Got shot, stabbed, and hit with a brick.
You in the black hat, gray shirt, eating a banana outside.
I wanted her stuff gone and to move on with my life. I obviously wasn't concerned about the police because I made the drive as planned. We were planning to meet at 4, but because of a conference call, I was running a little late.
He's late.
Cash out my PayPal.
Not sure what that meant, considering I was an hour early to pick her up at the airport, and she sat around my house for 2 weeks, so I was never late to anything with her, but whatever.
Stop fucking lying!
While I was waiting, I request for the move-out.
Please, don't forget the Cash App.
Don't
I
forget
got
the
to Walmart a little after 5 p.m. and pulled up next to the car she was in. I chose not to put her things in trash bags like she asked, because I assumed she would take pictures of them, put them on GoFundMe or YouTube, and claim that I treated her items like actual trash. I know how this game works. I instead put everything in 2 suitcases I let her have, and brought along the 4 cases.
Look at the size of those phalanges, y'all. Her hand, I swear to God, has got to have like a good inch like on her face. Like she's got some big old fingers. Just
It's a formula. I started taking things out of the back of my car when a police SUV pulled up. When she told me they were there to supervise the handoff at her request, I was confused. Why? There were no threats, no violence, no yelling, no effort on my part to keep her things, or any reason in the
I'm
world
a victim
to take this officer from what he could be doing to watch me hand off a few boxes and suitcases. She said she wasn't sure what was going on.
They should have done this in Georgia. Georgia State Patrol wouldn't have gave him no hell.
I thought he wanted to get me away from the car my accuser was in so that they can load up and leave, but then he started to ask me questions and told me why he was there. I had been accused of sex trafficking by my former house guest, and he needed to hear my story before we headed down to the station.
Can this be happening? Will Wes Most get hemmed up in some bullshit? Or will the Chehalis police see the fabric of truth? Will it be 90 minutes back home by car? Or 90 years behind bars? See the text.
What up, Iris?
Read the threats. And hear the actual 911 call that started it all.
I have a need for like a police.
All that plus this guy.
Hello.
Education and alliteration.
Hey.
Some information for your contemplation.
And more. In the most thrilling conclusion. Want more, Most?
Yeah, I'm live right now.
Subscribe or click the video above.
All right, bye.
You drink up all the milk. Don't care what kind of milk it is. You don't care. 2%, 3% buttermilk, patent milk. Serenity now! Serenity now!
All right, now Cat G Studios Part 2. Dun dun dun. This.
Twain said,
Oh, that mullet, dude. That mullet gets me. It's like that dude on TikTok, that squirrelbait guy who eats like toothpaste, Oreos, and orange juice, a bunch of weird shit. He's got a fucking dank mullet too. All right. Here we go. Well, if this light is so damn bright, like it's killing my eyes to fucking have to deal with the light. All right, here we go. Let's start this fucking mess.
if you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything. What all does this mean to people like Brittany Simon, Real Stream, Deity, myself, and who knows how many other YouTubers and non-YouTubers who have been accused and dragged of abusing this quote-unquote vulnerable adult? Where do the lies and finger-pointing stop and the real truth emerge?
Please believe me! Please believe me!
The good news is, I've been cleared of any wrongdoing as the legal system chugs along.
Looks like an 80s mom. Looks like a fucking 80s mom with the big sweater, the dangly earrings, and the, not the feeding tube, but the hair. Like, god damn, that is 80s as fuck.
Who filed false charges and attempted to extort.
Extortion is a criminal offense.
My one takeaway is this. Any cause this person supports or has supported, any finger they point or have pointed,
I don't know.
any claim they have made or will make, and any petition they back is now a bit more suspect. Because when it boils down to it, she has made a cottage industry out of doing
I
one
think
thing.
so, Holly. Shit's out of third.
Playing the victim, telling sob stories.
He said she smelled
asking
bad, I
for
believe.
handouts. And it's worked. Until now. And one final thing. Before you go and try and assassinate my character further, manufacture bullshit evidence, or spin this to somehow make it look like the truth is anything other than what it really is, just
Hush
remember
money.
what happened to the last guy who tried that with me. So does she need help? Absolutely, I believe she does. But not the kind she's asking for. And not the kind she'll find on a GoFundMe or in her Patreon account. I, for one, won't be silent while a predator, an actual wolf in sheep's clothing, preys on the men and women of YouTube for clout, sympathy, and profit. Will you?
I mean,
And I can't wait to show you guys what happens next in the life of
A victim.
a victim. That was it?
That's it for me.
Your boy,
Your
Wes
boy.
Most.
And even though it's probably cheating, I want to hear more of that alliteration rap, so in sync, help me out.
Use words that start with the same letter. Over and over, the more, the better. Use words that start with the same letter.
What the fuck
Over
is
and
this,
over,
dude?
The more, the better. Pay me now.
Fucking pickle juice. Pickle juice. Pickle juice.
Pickle juice.
Never been the bad boy.
Want more Most? Subscribe or click the video above.
Wait a minute. Hold on real quick. This is a part 3. I did not know there was a part 3. Part 3 of the human trafficking. Well, fucking A. How long does it go on for? I didn't know about this one, but you know what? We're going in, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies, gentlemen, fluids, druids, chocolate covered bunnies. We in this bitch.
Every time they turn the lights down.
No, that was the second part.
Well, who's Brittany? Who's Brittany?
Wait, I did part 1, part 2, and then this is part 3. What up, Sasha? But yeah, this is part 3. I believe we did part 2. Yeah, we did part 2.
In episode 1, I show that a pattern of disrespect and overstep boundaries led me to ask Muse to leave my home 1 month earlier than planned. In retaliation, she called the police and falsely accused me of human trafficking.
I noticed that. Was that it, though? Because we watched what was listed as part 2.
Twain said, if you tell the truth, you don't have to
part
remember
2.
anything. What
Oh,
does
wait.
it mean?
I'm an idiot. Sorry, guys. I'm still new here.
Wu-Tang.
Sorry, guys. That's fucking dank.
Previously on the Salty Danger Show.
In our last episode, I let a person I felt sorry for move into a home I share with my son. She needed emergency surgery, so I flew her across the country and gave her a safe place to stay. What more can I say? She was a slob, disrespectful, and I didn't trust her, so I asked her to be gone by the end of April. Of course, I wasn't sending her away empty-handed, as I was giving her $500 cash as a parting gift to ease her transition. She left voluntarily in early March, and when I traveled 100 miles to meet her and drop off her things, I was met by the Chehalis police, who were there to arrest me because she had accused me of human trafficking. Stay tuned, because in 2020, I have feuded with a buffoon, worked with a goon, and was harassed by a loon. But nothing could have prepared me for this. Am I leaving anything out?
Needs more salt.
Oh no, I got plenty of that. Tiffany Lockhart?
Hello, hi.
Hit the theme music.
Wes Most and it's here for us. Salty and dangerous.
She said she wasn't sure what was going on, and the policeman asked if he could have a few words with me. I thought he wanted to get me away from the car my accuser was in so that they can load up and leave, but then he started to ask me questions and told me why he was there. I had been accused of sex trafficking by my former house guest, and he needed to hear my story before we headed down to the station. So this is why she was so adamant about getting paid the money I had offered prior to getting me to that parking lot. She thought I would be leaving that night in handcuffs, and she wanted to make sure that the money that I was giving her for being a fucking blight on my household would be paid before I spent time in jail. I
Salty
looked back
indigenous.
at her in disbelief, and she smiled.
That's what I thought.
Another police car drove up, followed by another, as 5 officers now swarmed around me in my vehicle, asking questions and checking my identity. One of the officers asked another why my accuser was still sitting there in the car, and they discussed if she was about to start recording with her phone. They were instructed to leave and slowly drove away. Within 5 minutes of going through my text and looking at the house rules I had written out, the police let me go and instructed me to contact the Seattle police because filing a false police report is a crime. He joked that it was a good thing I didn't drive her to Seattle, or she could have claimed I drove her there to sell or offload her. The crime of sex trafficking carries charges of 20 years to life in prison, which explain the overwhelming police response.
Pay me to take this
They
bitch.
weren't happy to have had their time wasted sitting and waiting for me to get there, expecting a trafficker, but instead being played in a poorly planned plot.
It's time for an education on alliteration. Some information for your contemplation. No limitations on alliteration. For some information, see this demonstration.
For revenge. I sat in my car stunned for a minute and messaged my accuser about the trafficking charges the police wanted to talk with me about. I told her I was confused. She replied back pretty quickly.
They just said I needed an escort. I don't know. They also weren't supposed to leave their cars. That's why I got super anxious.
She then added,
That was some fucking racial profiling. And I'm tempted to complain.
I haven't seen acting this bad since.
What? Go away.
And that told me everything I needed to know.
Shut the
It's like getting someone a puppy. Here's a responsibility and a fucking lot of them. Let me back this fucking Penn and Teller shit up because it's dank.
Needed to know.
Shut the fuck up!
I didn't believe her. I messaged another YouTuber, Tiffany Lockhart, and let her know the police had showed up to potentially arrest me for sex trafficking. Tiffany was the only person who knew everything that had gone on over the previous weeks, and she was the only one who knew I was going to that Walmart in Chehalis for the drop-off. I let her know my accuser was claiming she didn't tell them about trafficking, and Tiffany reminded me that everything would be revealed on the 911 call. Maybe the police really did take things out of hand.
I hope that's low sodium ham. That's a lot of ham to be eating.
Or maybe, just maybe.
I am escaping human trafficking, and today I'm meeting with the person to get my belongings back, so the human trafficking hotline had recommended to call in. I'm a victim.
So yeah, she lied. Her story made no sense, and even the operator was confused as to what was going on.
How did they have your belongings? You just kind of fled, or? Yeah, I fled. I had an emergency surgery, and then I was told to call it in. And so he's been holding you against your will? No, he traveled me across the entire country, and then decided to get rid of me.
As her story changed from saying she fled after the emergency surgery to being kicked out, so did she flee Or was she kicked out? Because it can't be both.
I'm a victim.
Here in the rules, I'm instructing her to stay out of my room. Seems kind of counterproductive if I'm trying to be sexual with her, doesn't it? She says she was traveled here.
He traveled me across the entire country.
Which is true. I did help her pay for the ticket and offer a free, safe, temporary place to stay in a nice house until she got back on her feet.
I was based out of Georgia for about 4 months, and then I came back for my emergency procedure, and then decided to get rid of me. Then I wasn't going to have sex with him. Oh no.
And that is a lie. Not a misunderstanding, not a result of trauma, but a lie made up to make me pay for asking her to leave earlier than she wanted. She would turn me into a villain by slipping into a familiar role she has undoubtedly used before.
I'm a victim.
Diapers have to be
She laughs with
convenient.
the 911 operator for spelling her last name correctly on the first try.
Shit.
Okay, what is your name? You're the first person to get that on the first guy.
She doesn't sound traumatized to me and tries in vain to make sure the police will be there
This
before
makeup.
eyeing her. Almost as if she is fearful of me.
Sooner rather than later would be awesome, just so that I have time to inform them if they can do any type of action today. I don't.
When the operator asks if there is something I need to be arrested for,
You need to be arrested for, or
instead of saying the obvious no, she says,
that's why I've been trying to give you the number for the human trafficking case itself.
"You're not sure?" Even in the story and lies she tells, she claims she was brought here for emergency surgery and then kicked out after surgery. And while all of my texts prove that didn't happen, even if it did, that would be a civil case for breaking possible eviction or long-time guest rules. I would be an asshole if I did that. I would not be a trafficker. The fact that she even questioned if I needed to be arrested for this showed me who my accuser really sees herself as.
Victim, 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 victim.
The operator instructs her not to contact me until the police have arrived.
Well, try not to make contact with him if you haven't talked to an officer. I'm going to put a higher priority on this.
But of course, she does reach out again after calling 911.
That hand.
Just to make sure of
It's
one
like
thing.
Please,
massive.
don't forget the Cash App.
So while the operator was confused, the call went out, and the two words that stuck out to the responding officers were this: sex and trafficking. I drove the 90 minutes in traffic back home, and my relief and bemusement from the previous encounter had changed to anger. I don't play the race card, but as a black dude in a strange city that is 85% white, a city I've never been anywhere near, having 3 police cars pull up and officers surround me is not a welcome sight. You could even say it's intimidating. When I got home, I replied to her message. It's a long one, but I let her know I knew that she was making up these trafficking claims. There was no reason to have police there unless she was looking for drama and to make a scene. Why would a trafficker drive 100 miles to meet you and drop off your belongings? I reminded her I had proof of everything and wanted her not to contact, call, message me, etc. Finally, I let her know if she was going to make herself look like a victim in this situation, a situation where she chose to leave after I implemented the house rules and set a move-out date 1 month earlier than she wanted,
Fucking if
that I
in
would
hell.
clear it up on my own. I don't think any of that mattered. The only line that got any response from her was when I mentioned that I hadn't paid her because I was worried that she would have made a scene and it was a bit of an insurance policy for me. I obviously was not going to pay her now that she tried to have me arrested, and only a sociopath would still be standing in front of me with their hand out, asking for the literal handout that I was giving away before.
You promised me money. After that, I'm gone.
Hold up, Natalie.
I don't want to explain when you act like this. I did what I was told by a therapist and social workers. That's my truth. I have screenshots of
Her
everything.
truth.
I also don't want to take this to court, but act like this, and I will.
This was starting to feel like
Looking for the
extortion.
answers.
Give her the money and she would
Those
be
answers.
gone. But she said I was a trafficker. If she really felt that way, wouldn't bringing me to justice be more important so that I don't harm someone else rather than collecting a few $100s?
Extortion is a criminal offense of obtaining money, property, or services from an institution through coercion.
This is the same person who made a video in 2017 claiming she was almost trafficked a year earlier, and apparently those people got away too. So why would she be so willing to let
We do
this
live in a
slide?
society.
I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Because everybody's saying we live in a
Hopefully
society.
I'll have the guts to post this. If the people see this, please leave me be. Bye.
And the Oscar goes to...
It doesn't really fit the narrative of being an advocate for victims of abuse, but whatever. I wasn't going to reply because I wanted to see where she would go next, and she did not disappoint.
All right, court it is. No contact till court. You're already reported. You can't bring someone across the country and kick them out within a month because they won't cuddle or want to be sexual with you. You fucked with the wrong person. The investigation has already been a thing since I came out of surgery, and the social workers told me that what you did was illegal. I know my rights. I am no fucking victim. You made me homeless after complications with a surgery. You had your chance to...
I am no fucking victim. Right here. I am no victim. Righty there. There we go. Fucking I am no victim. I am a victim. Are you a victim or are you not a victim?
Drop the charges and disappear. Nope. I don't want contact with you. This isn't content or some game for me, idiot.
Oh boy, here we go,
Then I got
Minnie.
a request to my email for half the money via Cash App. This is when it officially became extortion, on top of the false police report charges. She tells me her new lie that I kicked her out for refusal to be sexual with me, and she mentions for the second time that money would make the charges drop. I tried one last time to give her the benefit of the doubt. I let her know if she was able to get the police to confirm that they made up the trafficking charges, I would gladly pay her those move-out funds. I concluded with, I don't feel it's right to expect money from me if you were trying to get me arrested. I don't think it's asking too much. Her response was,
I said no contact. You're really not the brightest. You're going to court.
and let's talk about that, shall we?
Going to court.
Because she mentions on her GoFundMe that she is going to need legal fees and she has a looming court case. But I don't think she mentions that she will be the defendant in that case. She has nothing.
The fucking lying.
I'm telling you.
The fucking lying.
The Chehalis police closed the case. The trafficking hotline knew the case was bullshit, so they are using the time and resources for people who actually need it. But the police where I live, they don't take these charges lightly. The police were at my house within hours, and without going into specifics, let's just say contact was made. Later that day, the GoFundMe was updated and mentions the move-out support that she did not receive, as if she'd been ripped off or cheated instead of telling the truth.
The person I was living with free of charge asked me to leave a little earlier than I wanted, so I called the police and accused him of trafficking. Now he won't give me the $500 he was going to give me for free. Can I have some money, please?
That's the problem with the truth, though. Who would donate if they knew that? Here, where she mentions that she was threatened with a restraining order and that I blamed her for victimizing herself by leaving early, what she really meant was this.
The guy I made up lies about and tried to have arrested told me not to contact him again, or he would file a no contact order. What an asshole.
So
Will you donate now, please?
GoFundMe updates continue
doing her
with
thing
the
on top
latest
of it.
being,
We are facing a legal battle due to trusting someone we shouldn't have. We can't even get a call back from the support networks that are supposed to be assisting. It is a repeat, but worse of the domestic abuse court battle because the resources won't even respond to us calling in a crisis mode. We need a lawyer, advocate, and case manager.
why can't she take the hint?
No one wants to be her
They
advocate.
aren't calling her back because she doesn't have a case. Why would she be in crisis mode and over what? She wants a free lawyer, advocate, and case manager because she didn't like the house rules? Because her move-out date was changed from May to April after I flew her out here so she could get the emergency surgery she so desperately needed? There are actual victims out there who need help. Real
I'm a
people
victim.
desperate for a lawyer, advocate, or case manager, and I only hope that they didn't get a busy signal when they called for assistance because she was tying up the phone lines with fuckery. My only real crime was being a dumbass and letting her move in the first place, and I already know what she'll get for that.
It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal. You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
Well, yes,
A day or two
Retro.
later,
Absolutely.
I reached out to some of the people who had been accused of harassment, stalking, and more by my former house guest because now I had to question everything. I had been told for weeks that Realstream and Deity had been talking about her nonstop. I'd heard stories for over a month about Realstream repeatedly doxing her after he reported about her allegedly kicking her service dog. But when I looked for evidence of those doxing, harassing streams, I couldn't find it. Zero. I spoke with casual followers as well as ardent fans, and it just looked like I'd been hoodwinked. Regardless of how you feel about Realstream, my accuser did move back to the Pacific Northwest because he was doxing her, and it looks more apparent than ever that she took the opportunity to further demonize him when the video of her and her dog began to garner interest and hate from animal lovers all over. I'll admit, I had never seen that video before, but now that I have, it doesn't look good. I know Didi had his issues with my accuser trying to take over his streams after pestering him in the chat to give her a platform. When he started talking about the negative cloud, the drama this person created was having on his channel and overall mental health,
Regardless of your feelings of these
more
people.
claims of abuse and harassment. I believed it initially, and so did many others. What reason did she have to lie? I stopped believing it when she was here and made the claim almost daily about Didi harassing her,
That
including
face.
this moment when another identity of hers asked me if she knew Deity. I just wanted to know if she wanted something to eat.
I just came to get something to eat.
Did she take it too far when she allegedly accused Deity of sexual abuse? Yeah. Deity is not interested in that at all. Deity is gay.
All I can tell you, sir, is that he's gay.
In my
Dave
experience,
Chappelle.
false claims and drama are the unavoidable side effect from daring to interact with someone who has nothing to lose. I have seen the same playbook from Vince Nicotra. When we exposed him on New Year's Eve for a website scam,
Oof.
he responded with doxing, claims of me hacking him, lies about me wanting a job, and more. But receipts don't lie. He does. And so does she. And I'm not alleging that. I just proved that. So in the end, it boils down to
That
this.
hair.
Did she flee? Was she kicked out? Did she move here for emergency surgery? Or because Realstream was harassing her? Did Deity assault and intimidate her and devote nightly streams to her? Or does the truth change and flex to fit the situation at hand?
Well, number one did it, but number three looks like a total asshole. Let's go with number three.
Why do the details vary and change so often and so freely? Like Mark Twain said, if you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything. What all does this mean to people like Brittany Simon, Realstream, Deity, myself, and who knows how many other YouTubers and non-YouTubers who have been accused and dragged of abusing this quote-unquote vulnerable adult? Where do the lies and finger-pointing stop and the real truth emerge?
Please believe me. Please believe me.
The good news is I've been cleared of any wrongdoing as the legal system chugs along in the pursuit of justice who filed false charges and attempted to extort.
Extortion is a criminal offense.
My one takeaway is this.
Yeah.
Any cause this person supports or has supported, any finger they point or have pointed, any claim they have made or will make, and any petition they back is now a bit more suspect, because when it boils down to it, she has made a cottage industry out of doing one thing. Playing the victim, telling sob stories, and asking for handouts.
Eating hot chip and telling lie.
Until now. And one final thing. Before you go and try and assassinate my character further, manufacture bullshit evidence, or spin this to somehow make it look like the truth is anything other than what it really is, just remember what happened to the last guy who tried that with me. So does she need help? Absolutely, I believe she does. But not the kind she's asking for. Not the kind she'll find on a GoFundMe or in her Patreon account. I, for one, won't be silent while a predator, an actual wolf in sheep's clothing, preys on the men and women of YouTube for clout, sympathy, and profit. You?
And I can't wait to show you guys what happens next in the life of a victim.
A victim. But I won't be a victim. All right.
That's it for me.
And we watched his outro.
Wes Most.
And even though it's probably cheating,
We watched his outro. Now we have watched all of part 2. Oh. Let's see here. Back to Aftermath. Human trafficking saga, dear Lord. I find part 3. And it should be doodly doot.
Wu-Tang, baby, I like you rough. I like you rough.
Where's the part 3 one? Part 2.
It's the National Human Trafficking.
There we go.
Every time they turn the lights down.
Because I'm not going to review all of his content. I want people to still watch his stuff.
Well, who's Brittany? Who's Brittany?
in episode 1, I show that a pattern of disrespect and overstep boundaries led me to ask Muse to leave my home 1 month earlier than planned. In retaliation, she called the police and falsely accused me of human trafficking. In episode 2, I proved that my accuser not only lied about the fact that she made up the human trafficking charges on her own, but then attempted to extort me by offering to drop the charges in exchange for the $500 in move-out support offered. Since then, I've called the National Trafficking Hotline, where she claimed there was an open investigation against me, and proved that not only was that a lie.
There's no opening or closing of cases with your hotline?
No, I'm really sorry that this is happening to you.
But I got an apology from them for the false claims levied against me. It was clear-cut, it was direct, it was definitive. Then the receipts started pouring in, and I realized something. There is a list of victims much longer than anyone could have imagined. People who opened their homes, hearts, arms, and wallets only to be victimized when they were no longer useful. Imagine the ability to travel all over the U.S., live in nice homes, eat free food, and exist off of handouts, the kindness of strangers, and taxpayer assistance. Imagine the ability to break down people's better judgment and inherent insecurity regarding strangers with a sad story, an unfortunate diagnosis, a cute dog, and a visible disability. Now imagine over a dozen people, former friends, online acquaintances, and roommates coming together to share timelines.
So Chess say I'm a victim?
Stories, and more. I imagine what you would have would be a complete picture of someone who is a
victim
of her own lies.
Hi guys, I know I've been posting a lot and that my bandage is kind of pulling off my face right now. I'm the other woman. I am the one that Brittany Simon got cheated on with.
Oh my God! Cause it's Wes Most and it's here for us. Something get dangerous. Come on!
And now, your boy, Wes Most.
Almost as soon as episode 1 hit YouTube on May 30th, my inbox blew up. People who had once lived in silence, afraid to speak out, were now wanting to be heard. I was able to trace the last 7 months of roommates, and not one could recount a single doctor's visit. Surely, someone living with the ever-growing number of medical conditions Muse has would at least have to visit the doctor sometimes, right? As the list and severity of these afflictions ebbed and flowed depending on what person, group, or community she was attempting to infiltrate, she would often disappear, only to reappear with a new screen name, new identity, a new alias. Predators aren't just born, there is a pattern, a path and a trail they take to get to their destination. Let's go back 4 years to the time when Muse first encountered Brittany Simon. What started with a kind gesture to a fan would ultimately lead to accusations, public outrage, and life-changing consequences. This is an origin story. A look back at the rise of a revenge-filled assassin attacking not with physical weapons, but with wild accusations and finger-pointing.
Brittany herself, though, has a following already online.
Finger-pointing.
And it's not so much that I'm trying to tear that down. I have phrased it that way in the past, but it's more so I feel like some shit needs to be talked about.
How far will people go to shirk the responsibility of adult life? To get that extra bit of sympathy? Another few words of kind encouragement? A few more dollars in their GoFundMe account?
Hi, Britt. Hi, Brittany. How was it, Brittany?
It's Brittany, bitch.
This is Brittany Simon. She is
Energetic, introverted, artist.
Her motto is one that is shared by the majority of practitioners within her world. Do no harm. 4 years ago, life was looking great for Brittany. She had spent years building an online following as an advocate for relationship communication and speaking out against abuse and discrimination of all types. With a little under 20,000 subscribers and over 2.5 million video views at the time, Brittany was a rising star. In the close-knit Seattle BDSM community, she had sometimes met with her followers to lend an ear in an attempt to ease a troubled soul. So when Muse reached out sometime in 2016 asking to discuss issues she was dealing with, Brittany agreed to a lunch meeting. Did the perceived weaknesses of this eventual predator break down Brittany's defenses right off the bat? Of course they did.
I fell for it too. And I'm like, it's hard not to. We've been told we're supposed to help literally this person.
Muse was open with a hard luck story of addiction, abusive exes, alleged assaults, habitual homelessness, and on top of that, a grim medical diagnosis, including a number of physical and mental issues.
They had like 5 ex-boyfriends who were all rapists. They were currently living with one of them. They were a drug addict with severe issues with like hard narcotics. They gave me a lot of information to handle in a 2-hour lunch. And it was a lot.
When that
she bought the lunch
from BPD about her own videos from Los Angeles, living with the family who had taken her
all the way to LA area of California, which is one backpack in a matter of a week.
She spent about 2 months with the family before being shown the door, but she did not leave empty-handed. For the next 18 months, Brittany began to notice Muse at more of the events and classes she was attending. If Brittany Simon was in attendance, you could almost guarantee that Muse would be popping up at one point or another, growing closer to her inner circle.
I was just being quiet. It should be fixed now.
Man, at this point,
Is it still lagging? It should be picking back up. I was just listening to this woman, this man's be talkings.
Brittany's YouTube channel now had over 32,000 subscribers and an impressive 5.
Oh, motherfucker, now I'm seeing... Yeah, I know. It's been good for so long.
5 million
But it's
views.
overcast
Her
outside.
hard work was paying off, and she was living off of her YouTube and Patreon income. For many, this would be a dream. But behind the scenes, her relationship had hit a rough patch. And then, like a ton of bricks, Brittany was hit with the news. Muse and her partner had started a sexual relationship behind her back. Brittany was upset at the betrayal by both parties and left. Not just the relationship, she left the state entirely. This was May of 2018, around the same time that Muse added DID to her long list of medical disorders. Brittany traveled 10,000 miles around the U.S., getting in touch with herself and making peace with her place in the world. A year went by, and then in May of 2019, Brittany's ex reached out for help. Returning to Seattle, she somehow managed to put her feelings aside to help her ex-boyfriend and his current partner navigate choppy relationship waters. Muse was not happy to see Brittany back in their life originally, but eventually the three of them managed to make it work, engaging in group chats, spending time together, and building a friendship. By this point, the relationship between Muse and her partner, Brittany's ex, had similarly crumbled, and the terminal illness that was once going to end her life had mysteriously vanished.
Like a professional victim is it's like a con artist. It's literally just a con artist. And con artists are really good at what they do because it's the only thing they can ever do.
In June of 2019, there was a consensual BDSM-related encounter with Muse's partner. But it's clear consensual because there are texts between Muse and partner after it was done. I share the text. There is no this is not getting old, but
You says, "Hey, I just got boots." Partner's name is cool. You're ready to stomp balls tonight. She said, "IDA. Oh well, kinky, super winky face. Let's do stomp these balls tonight." She, "LOL, okay."
I have third party version as always from an opinion. She's in her text. Some hustling levels of detail, what had just happened, and even made plans to do it again. A few hours later, however, the messages changed in tone as Muse now wanted her partner to bring her vape, and he was ignoring her, playing video games with headphones on in another room. There was further proof in the form of text messages between Muse and Brittany Simon after the sexual encounter, where the two of them gab about it like a couple of old friends splitting a 4-pack of White Claws. Just a reminder, this is Brittany Simon having a conversation about sex and communication with the person who was the other woman.
I'm the other woman.
In a relationship she cultivated for 5 years. Aftercare is important in BDSM. It's undeniably vital. There is no one specific way to give aftercare. It is used primarily to ensure that the other partner feels safe and secure and includes special attention to physical, mental, or emotional needs. That was the true issue here. Muse felt the aftercare being given after their encounter was not sufficient and complains about an overall unhappiness in their relationship. Brittany offers some words of encouragement and reminds Muse that she does not need to live for anyone but herself. Fast forward a few days, and Muse has left the home she shared with her partner to stay with their parents temporarily. While there, she contacts Brittany with shocking news. She had been the victim of sexual assault. Concerned,
Brittany, bitch.
Brittany asks what happened. That's when Muse goes on to now claim that the consensual incident from a few nights earlier was now a sexual assault. Brittany had seen the text messages between the two directly after the incident and had even had conversations with the supposed victim as well that same night, and she never claimed it was a non-consensual assault. She complains about the aftercare being non-sufficient again and admonishes her former beau for being dismissive after sex. She says she has audio of him admitting to the assault, but when Brittany asks to hear it, Muse claims she cannot share it as it is part of a court case. a claim she made on her own channel as well.
It is the whole story. It is all I can provide with you guys right now, without screenshots and things of that nature that are being submitted to not only the civil suit, but also the criminal case.
But she does share one more complaint about a lack of aftercare.
Oh, look, this dipshit put my picture on their shit.
With the truth in tow, Brittany did the only
See you
thing
later,
she could think
fuckface.
of. She went back home to Seattle to help her ex fight these false charges. Her refusal to let her ex face these false allegations alone would put her in the crosshairs of Muse, and within a few short months, she would lose everything she had worked for. By this point, she had amassed over 65,000 YouTube subscribers and over 8 million total video views.
It's a thick
The
V
online
card.
assault against Brittany was fierce. How could this so-called educator teaching about the importance of consent and communication in BDSM support a rapist? There was no proof provided, no receipts. There was nothing. Only the allegations of a seemingly sickly girl who was willing to tell anyone who would listen about the abuse she had endured.
Once again, like I said, he cheated on Brittany with me.
A boner, I think, man. Boners will do that.
That she herself had once lived in. She began to loudly complain about Brittany living and sleeping in the same apartment she was allegedly assaulted in.
Brittany is already breaking the lease currently because you can't stay at our apartments for more than 4 days if you're a guest.
Such a weird thing to feel the need to point out in your video. She taunted Brittany, letting her know that she may never see the defendant again because of the prison thing. Later, when Muse demanded to have her name removed from the apartment lease, she showed up for the signing, accompanied by police officers on either side of her in the apartment office.
Those are some nudes I don't care to see.
Once again, wasting city resources and people's time in an effort to look like a scared victim. I can tell you from experience, it would not be the last time she tried that move.
I have a need for like a police.
GoFundMe's were launched, and the now professional victim
I had like a
monetized
need for a
her
police.
story and newfound followers to raise money for what she called a court case against her abuser. Finally, in September 2019, they went to court. Brittany's ex versus Muse. But they weren't there for a sexual assault case. No. That case had been thrown out long ago after a brief investigation by the police. Once they saw the text and evidence, they knew there was no case. This was consensual. Instead, they were in court for a restraining order. And while Brittany admits just the prospect of being in court was daunting enough, the sight of her accuser entering the courtroom gave her pause.
Harvey Weinstein came in with like a wheelchair, which she had never used, came in with like a big tank and like a care worker, and was putting on this whole schmooze with like her ventilator, which I had never seen her in, by the way, in 3 years.
The restraining order was quickly granted. In most states, one person only has to say they are fearful of the other in order to get a successful restraining order, and rolling into the courthouse in a wheelchair and hooked up to machines will likely soften most judges. Curiously, she was also granted the lease on the apartment, an apartment she admitted to in court that she could not afford, and just months earlier had brought police to ensure she could be signed off of the lease without incident. The ex, who had a job and had been paying regular rent on the apartment, was now homeless and would return to California in the following days. He is the forgotten victim.
What a shit. What a
He
shit.
lost his home, his job, and his life in the Pacific Northwest, all because of these false allegations. Where are the consequences for that? Brittany returned to exploring the U.S. and hoped to put the incident behind her. Around this time, Muse added a few more ailments to her medical profile. EDS, autism, and a few other afflictions were either added to her online profile or openly discussed anywhere she could. She also found out she was Asian at some point, which in her mind makes it impossible for her to be racist. But
I'm Asian now, guys.
Oh no, she told me Japanese. She was like, I just found out I'm Japanese. And I was like, oh, is it Chinese now? But like, she was like, yeah, my grandma apparently, or my great grandma is like Chinese or Japanese or whatever. And I was like, oh.
Me too.
The YouTuber formerly known as Muse would soon become Recovering Doll and began unleashing a flurry of videos and posts about overcoming abuse, domestic violence, recovery, and so on. Everyone needed to know she was a
victim.
And that it was Brittany and her ex who put her in this situation. There were claims that Brittany and her ex were grooming young women to turn them into sexual slaves, as well as claims that they tried to traffic her, a claim she would dust off a few months later when she didn't like my provided move-out date.
Didn't know what to do because it was that time when she started accusing me of trafficking and accused my ex and I of seducing young fans off the internet to then make them house slaves.
The general public was either unaware of the lack of proof or didn't care because this had been the tea-filled event that Brittany had feared.
And at the end of the day, all this proved to me was that the audience I had built, 30% of them were still strangers who were waiting for me to fall so they could kill me.
Muse guested on a YouTube program or two, spreading her story of abuse
and
watching her subscriber base slowly tick up. One of the first to give her a voice was Realstream News. He would later regret it. Some of the same people who are now slamming Muse, proclaiming they always knew something was off, were at the same time joining in on the hate fest against Brittany, taking turns discussing her mental health and declaring she should no longer be talking about predators since she now was one. All of this without a shred of evidence provided. Brittany's subscriber base and video views were still trending upwards, but behind the scenes, she had grown unhappy and sullen. The apartment Muse won in court didn't last long, and she soon found herself homeless again. She reached back out to those people she lived with in Los Angeles a few years earlier and told them she had nowhere to go. Despite their better judgment, she soon found herself back on the West Coast. Was it coincidental that Brittany herself had relocated there just a few months earlier? Maybe. But regardless, it didn't last long. Muse quickly made herself a nuisance in this home, breaking pre-existing rules as set forth by the homeowner, like vaping indoors after repeatedly being told not to. She was needy, ungrateful, and troubled. So after a week, the homeowner let her know it would be a good idea to start looking for a new place to live.
She's just a
Angry
prick.
After being told that her actions would have consequences, Muse asked for $1,000 to cover her expenses and costs of getting to LA, almost as if she was invited there instead of begging for a place to stay. She left soon after, taking everything but feeding tube supplies and formula, and moved to Georgia to leech off of someone else. Somewhere around this time, Brittany finally had enough of the abuse, the accusations, and the many backs being turned on her by people she had once counted as friends.
Well, fuck the club up,
With
girl.
over 70,000 subscribers and 9 million plus views, Brittany Simon left YouTube in December of 2019.
Damn.
There are people on the internet right now who are claiming that they're seeking my location and trying to find me. That's crazy.
Nothing new.
That's literally crazy talk.
Carrying with her a slightly different view of the world.
To be honest, at
Keep a
first I went
boomstick.
to straight, I'm not helping a single soul ever again mode.
She won. After taking her victory lap for toppling her former friend who had wronged her, Muse would hit a roadblock of her own. One night while streaming on a campsite, Muse allegedly kicked her service dog. The video was quickly covered by Realstream News,
I
and
wanna
people
see
began
that.
turning on Muse, disliking her videos,
I don't want to see a dog
and
get
leaving
hurt,
comments
but
about animal abuse.
I've heard a lot about the footage.
How did she handle this? Well, by accusing RSN of abuse, doxing, and harassment. And once again, people were quick to believe her stories. Weeks later, she would make new allegations, this time against one-time web producer for Chris Hansen, Vince Nicotra. This claim was that Vince was sexually harassing her. When pressed for proof by Regina, Muse provided text messages that could be seen as inappropriate. However, they weren't sent to her. They were sent to someone else entirely, and Muse was trying to pass them off as her own. It was only February, and already she had chased Brittany Simon off of YouTube, accused RSN of harassment and doxing, aimed sexual harassment claims against Vince, and later accused Dee of harassment and possibly sexual assault. She was on a rampage. The living situation in Georgia had turned pretty quickly. Muse's ex-roommate actually lives with many of the same medical conditions that Muse proclaims to live with. But as she put it, anytime she was in pain or dealing with an episode, Muse would claim to also be in pain, only hers had to be worse. The feeding tube seemed to be more of an accessory than a necessity, as she ate constantly, ate a lot of junk food, and would get angry at her roommate for not having the time in her busy work schedule or personal life to take her grocery shopping. Just 1 month after this, Muse would leave Georgia for good, and I would become the latest victim of a twisted need for revenge. She brought her dog and some suitcases, but of course, left behind the feeding tube formula and supplies. She did manage to bring a case of her roommate's ramen noodles, though. While things at my house were not working, Muse began angling to try and get back to Georgia. She did this by messaging her ex-roommate, often to share disparaging stories about me or twisting the truth to fit her narrative. But why talk about these texts when you can see them for yourself? First, she lies about putting a boundary down while being gropped. Her words.
Gropped?
And then whines about me ghosting her.
Let me grop
The
it.
ghosting was 100%
Oh.
accurate.
I'm safe, but he said I have 3 months. I feel used even though nothing bad happened. It was just he had been ghosting, and we're in the same house. Then he got mad when I asked if my friend could come meet me, and said I was telling, not asking. And I was like, even if I was, I don't understand how meeting a dog is a huge issue. It's not like I'm fucking or throwing a goddamn party.
Wow, what an ungrateful bitch.
I'm just saving money so Bean and I can leave. But
Watch out, everyone. Everyone.
That I can't fucking work right now, even if I wasn't pissed. He's hiring a maid and just didn't tell me we were gonna have a maid in our space. Like, okay, that's fine, but you need to fucking tell me.
Correction, that is my space. Clean up after your damn self, nasty.
There was a huge long Google Doc he sent, and his plan was never to have me drain on his mental health. Oh, I am fucking sorry. And even if we didn't want to leave and move out this quickly, the plan wasn't originally until April or May.
This is one day
Underachieves at an eating disorder. Oh God, I don't know.
I changed the plan to the end of April because she is the worst.
There was no notice. He tried to bribe and provide financial assistance if we could just leave this month. So I'm taking the $500 he's offering and trying to figure out how to get on disability fast.
And then right back to lying. Let this be a warning to anyone else who tries to help her. This is how she sees people.
My first words personally are go back to Seattle where there might be an opening. There is. We just don't know if he'll take us. We lived there twice.
This is March 4th. She has a place to go in Seattle where she has already lived twice and is trying to go back to Georgia where she had just left.
He literally just canceled your trip we had to Seattle for over a month. I hate this guy. Fucking cuck. I am so glad we're leaving.
This is not a trafficked woman. This is a spoiled brat used to getting her way.
So good sobering up. And so glad I was brave because they said it was dislocated.
March 6th is the day of surgery.
Hey, we were trafficked on the phone with the human trafficking people. I am calling domestic violence hotlines in a second because I have a feeling this is super fucking illegal.
Just a few hours after telling me that she was going to voluntarily stay in Seattle, she started pity posting in a private Discord.
Homeless again. I have one last spot my service dog and I can go to. I'm getting through it slowly. I'm just glad I made it out because it turns out he's a sex trafficker.
So in summary, she got mad about house rules, whined about me wanting nothing to do with her, tried immediately to scheme her way into her next living arrangement, complained about me not taking her to Seattle, decided she had been trafficked the night of surgery, and despite her claims that her therapist told her to do it, she was already telling lies the morning of March 7th about her escape from a sex trafficker. Well, let's see what the jury thinks.
She claimed she was trafficked, but it was pretend. Whoops, you're caught 'cause Wes did it again. Wes did it again.
I've been asked by several people, why make this public? Why not handle it in private? And the answer is simple. She is a predator. She has used her afflictions, whether imagined or real, to gain the confidence of people around her and take advantage of them.
She is like the epitome of why victims have such a hard time being heard. People were so afraid to go after her, and I didn't know how to do it.
This wasn't just 1, 2, or 3 people who contacted me. People who had shared their own personal backstories about assaults or medical conditions they are living with felt lied to, used, and misled. People who live fruitful, healthy lives while living with DID wanted to reach out to explain that she is not a true representation of this disorder. People who have donated to her GoFundMe, believing they were helping a sick victim,
Sad.
only to learn that they were helping to finance a shady lifestyle. There was guilt, shame, and so many people graciously willing to share their expertise of gastroparesis, BPD,
Is it fucked up that I'm hungry?
EDS, and it all added up to one thing. I was far from the first victim, but with any luck at all, I'll be the last. What about Brittany? What are her thoughts on Muse? The person she befriended, tried to help, and who was the main catalyst behind the loss of her channel.
Is this what you wanted? Did you want something better? Did you want to be happy? Are you happy? I think about it constantly. I do. Like, from a psychological perspective, what are you like? Like, do you not have a personality and that's why you have to steal other people's? Like, or do you just sit at home plotting against people?
Fucking leech.
I think I just want to know if it's all worth it, honestly.
And to those people,
a plotting
some
leech.
of you who are watching this very video, who watched with glee as Muse tore down Brittany Simon, what are her words for you?
Like, I hope in some small fraction you feel a little bit of shame, because this is just like a learning. I hope you learn from this. It affected real people's lives. Like, my parents were scared. I know people want to be compassionate, and I know you're afraid of not defending a victim, but it just 2 seconds of research, or if people had just reached out to me, and not in like an accusatory way. There were so many people on Twitter and on the comment sections who were like, hey, if you don't respond to this girl, I'm just going to assume you're a predator.
Don't feel bad for Brittany, because what she found through all of this was her true meaning, her true path, and just her own truth.
Are you going to live the most authentic, happiest life you ever lived? Or are you going to live the life you thought you were supposed to have? And I thought I was supposed to be a YouTube star. I was so unhappy. And honestly, I'd been telling my sister for like a year I was going to get off YouTube. But I kept coming back for the people and for the joy of making content, because I do love it. But the person, the predator, made it so I kind of didn't have to make the decision anymore. The universe kind of made it for me.
Will she be back on YouTube anytime soon?
No, I appreciate all the people that stood by me at the time, but I'm going to be real with you. It just made me realize, like, I don't want to live in that world where one story could mean people just like threatening me or being rude to me. And as much as like I appreciate what YouTube has done for me and the path that it's led me, it didn't really bring me joy.
And that's where we are now. As of April 2020, Muse has disappeared from Twitter and YouTube, leaving behind more lies, more deceptions, and more deflections in her never-ending escape from truth and responsibility. Make no mistake about it, she's still around.
Let's see. I'm not exactly sure, as I'm really honestly new as shit. I'm sure Holly Undead could probably tell you more if there's people who've done videos on her. I'm trying to think. I mean, the one we sat through yesterday, that stream, I believe she pulled that shit quick because it was atrocious. Yeah, I was just gonna review these three. It's almost over, and we'll wrap it up in 1 minute.
Have eyes everywhere, and just a few days ago on a platform that shall remain nameless, there was another name change. This time, she is going by the moniker Hidden Safely. Always the victim, always the story, always looking for the next mark.
I wish you well. I wish you the greatest happiness in the world.
What a wonderful person.
The most severe cases of Munchausen syndrome are often linked with another personality disorder, sociopathy, characterized by a pervasive pattern of disregard for and violation of the rights of others. Its hallmarks include deceitfulness, manipulation, disregard for the safety of others, and a lack of remorse. This deceit often entails repeated lying and the use of aliases or conning others for personal profit or pleasure. Food for thought.
Yeah.
Encyclopedia Britannica. Now you tell me. I was in pain, and I called Spencer and Associates, and he changed my pain to rain.
Birthday. We're gonna party like it's your birthday. We're gonna have fun like it's your birthday. We're gonna enjoy it like it's your birthday.
All right.
Want more, Most?
Well, that was fun. yeah, I will link those in the description. And yeah, I'm sure through him and through Holly, you can find some more people with all this shit on her. Because, geez, man, she took a shit and made a mess everywhere she went. But yeah, guys, we'll be back out here tomorrow getting into something wild. But everybody have a wonderful afternoon. And I'll also do some research more on how this is unfolded after the court and whatnot. And I'll get back with you guys later. Everybody, have a wonderful Sunday fun day. Yeet!